Yangmingshan is a mountain in Taiwan known for its beautiful view, hot springs, and roaming wild cattle. Sharing the space with the human visitors, altercations are bound to happen. Which of these is not something that the park puts up to protect visitors? A. Signs to warn visitors. B. Wooden posts for visitors to hide behind. Or C. Red boards to redirect the rowdy cattle. There's only one thing of those three that the park currently does not put up to protect visitors. Keep listening to Formosa Fauna to find out which. Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can learn all about the animal kingdom and become smarter than all of your friends. Every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. Hello, I'm Tristan Hildebrand, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them. If you're even remotely curious about the animal kingdom, you're in the right place. On today's agenda, we're going to talk about how to survive a rowdy cattle encounter, the dangers of encountering wild cattle on Yangmingshan in Taiwan, urban sprawl, deceptive Livestream oyster shucking that sells fake pearls, and begging, why dogs do it and how to stop it. Yangmingshan, or Yangming Mountain, is a volcanic national park in northern Taiwan located just outside Taipei City. It is famous for its hot springs, hiking trails, cherry blossoms, sulfur vents, and lush mountain landscapes. Located just 30 to 40 minutes from central or downtown Taipei by public transportation, it's a popular and well-known spot. On Yangming Mountain in Taiwan, you can see two kinds of cattle roaming freely about: the Taiwan water buffalo and Tajima cattle. These aren't gated off away from the regular walking paths, meaning there are oftentimes interactions between people and cow. While mostly peaceful, these interactions can go south. To help people protect themselves, the park has put up these wooden posts that have gaps that are too narrow for the cows to ram through. The first time I saw these, I was a little confused on how it worked, because if you stood on one side of the posts, then your rear would be exposed. But as people explained to me, it takes longer for them to turn around and run back towards those posts than it takes for you to switch to the other side. So in theory, if you were getting attacked by a very persistent cow, as long as you would stay one step ahead of them, you would be all right. If you are to ever encounter a cow or bull stampede, though, here are some tips for you. Quick thinking, calmness, and strategic movement will be key. Of course, if you can, just get out of the way. If you see the herd coming, move perpendicular to their path rather than trying to outrun them. Running straight ahead won't work, as they're much, much faster than you. You may also want to find cover by getting behind a tree, boulder, rock, fence, or anything else solid enough to break a cow or herd's path. Climbing a sturdy tree or to hike around can also be safer, given you have the time to do so. You want to avoid agitating the animal any further, so make yourself seem less threatening by staying calm, still, and avoiding sudden movements or loud noises that could provoke them. Thankfully, stampedes are rare, but it's sort of fun to be prepared to face any possible situation. Speaking of cattle on Yangmingshan Mountain, or Yangming Mountain, back in 2018, an 86-year-old woman surnamed Chen was attacked by a water buffalo at the national park's Qingtiangang area. She succumbed to her injuries 15 days later. Her family sued the park's management, alleging inadequate safety measures, especially since previous incidents involving buffaloes had occurred. The Taiwan High Court ruled on January 12, 2021, that the Yangmingshan National Park Management Office was liable for damages. The court noted that the park had initially installed ropes and wooden posts to deter visitors from wandering off paths. However, recognizing these measures as insufficient, evidenced by replacing them with concrete posts and stainless steel wires after the incident, the court highlighted the park's awareness of the hazards. Consequently, the park was fined 3.96 million NT dollars, which is about 139,000 US dollars, to be paid to Chen's 4 descendants. The management office said that as the buffaloes are wild animals, it should not be responsible for any incidents involving them and visitors. And they noted that they had placed signs in the area to warn visitors to keep their distance from wildlife. What do you think about the situation? You can send me your thoughts by emailing me at tristan@rti.org.tw. That's TRISTAN @rti.org.tw. What is urban sprawl? Since the 1950s, the term urban sprawl has been widely used to describe the uncontrolled expansion of cities into surrounding rural areas. This phenomenon, first observed in the UK in the 1950s, is characterized by low-density, car-dependent development that spreads outwards rather than building up in a compact manner. As cities grow, they consume large amounts of land, replacing forests, grasslands, and wetlands with roads, housing, and commercial centers. Modern definitions of urban sprawl vary, but the negative impacts are widely recognized. This rapid and often poorly planned expansion has led to the rise of megacities, urban areas with populations exceeding 10 million. Examples include Tokyo, which has over 37 million in the greater Tokyo area, Jakarta with over 33 million, or Delhi in India with over 32 million. Urban sprawl has severe ecological consequences, particularly in terms of biodiversity loss, habitat destruction, and environmental degradation. Expanding cities encroach on natural landscapes, leading to deforestation, pollution, and the loss of wetlands and other ecosystems. Mexico City is one of the most extreme examples of urban expansion. The metropolitan population grew from 3.1 million in 1950 to 5.5 million in 1960, and it had skyrocketed to 14 million by 1980. This unchecked expansion has led to severe consequences, including increased air pollution due to car dependency, destruction of natural habitats, and loss of biodiversity, again, water shortages and contamination, and increased vulnerability to natural disasters such as flooding. One of the most tragic victims of Mexico City's urban sprawl is the axolotl, an amphibian known for its remarkable ability to regenerate limbs. This is also an animal that has gained a lot of popularity in recent years online, with a lot of people trying to adopt or purchase them because of how cute and stunning they are. Historically, axolotls thrived in the lakes and canals that once surrounded Mexico City. However, as the city expanded, these waterways were drained or polluted, drastically reducing the axolotl's natural habitat. By 2006, the species was classified as critically endangered, and by 2015, it was feared to be extinct in the wild. Despite conservation efforts offering glimmers of hope, the species remains at risk. Urban sprawl continues to threaten ecosystems worldwide. Without sustainable urban planning and conservation efforts, cities will continue to expand at the expense of natural environments, leading to irreversible damage. Governments and city planners must focus on smart growth strategies, including higher density developments, better public transportation, and stronger environmental protections to prevent further harm. China, aware of the problems caused by urbanization, is trying to limit the population of Shanghai to 25 million, while it currently stands at around 29.87 million, and Beijing to 23 million. In order to achieve this, they are restricting land available for building and controlling the inflow of people, forcing out many low-skilled workers. They are also building higher density neighborhoods with narrow streets, more intersections, and more public transportation that will help the formation of communities. Taiwan is an island that is 70% covered by mountains, lakes, and jungle. Taiwan's early connections to the Pacific and Southeast Asia are well established and are the basis for seeing Taiwan as an ocean nation. Did you know that over 17,000 species thrive in the deep sea where no light penetrates the ocean waves? Or that there are 38,000 different kinds of microbes in just 1 liter of seawater? These were all discoveries made by the Census of Marine Life, a 10-year international effort that assessed the diversity, distribution, and abundance of marine life. Today, we're going to learn about black lip pearl oysters. Of the many mollusk species, oysters are among the most admired for their pearls. These natural gems form as a defense mechanism when an irritant enters the shell. While all oysters can produce pearls, only a few species, particularly black lip, silver lip, and Akoya oysters, create the luxurious pearls that are prized and made into jewelry. For centuries, pearl divers harvested wild oysters, but today pearl farming dominates the industry. Farmers insert irritants into oysters, which then secrete layers of nacre, forming pearls over several years. Recent research has revealed that the oyster shells follow a pattern known as pink noise, where each new layer of mother of pearl adapts precisely to the one before, preventing imperfections. This process results in pearls that are not only beautiful but also exceptionally strong, 3,000 times tougher than their base materials, calcium, carbonate, and protein. Scientists hope to use this knowledge to develop durable materials for solar panels, spacecraft, and beyond. This mother of pearl acts as a defense mechanism in some cases, as it lines the inside of many mollusk shells, giving them a crack-proof covering that can survive crushing attacks from crab claws and fish jaws. Mother of pearl, which lines the oyster shells, has also been used traditionally for buttons, jewelry, and ornaments. More recently, biotech companies have explored its potential in dental fillings and bone repair. True oysters, such as Lofa cristagalli, with zigzag edges that inspired the Sydney Opera House, and culinary favorites like Pacific and Sydney rock oysters, often form large reefs. However, these ecosystems have suffered due to pollution, overfishing, and habitat destruction. New York City, once the world's oyster capital, had reefs 10 times the size of Manhattan, but they were wiped out by the early 20th century. Today, restoration efforts are underway to revive that lost oyster population, with similar projects worldwide. This leads us into our next segment about pearl scams. Something to watch out for, because while true pearls may have been a more popular accessory back in earlier times, pearls are making a resurgence on platforms that we all hold right in the palm of our hands through live streaming. Pearl parties on TikTok and other live stream platforms lure viewers into buying oysters that are opened on camera, revealing a pearl inside sometimes. Hosts hype up the excitement, claiming the pearls are rare and valuable. However, the entire operation is typically a scam, and worse, it's inhumane to the oysters. Let's talk about how this scam works. First of all, customers will buy oysters that have not yet been opened or shucked. Viewers will pay about $20 to $40 per oyster, hoping for a valuable pearl. Then, second step, the host will reveal the pearls. Almost every oyster contains a pearl in some cases, and sometimes in unusual colors. Step 3, they'll give you a fake appraisal. The hosts exaggerate their worth, claiming they are valued at hundreds of dollars. And step 4, they will upsell jewelry settings. Customers are pressured to pay extra for settings to preserve their pearl. The pearls are often pre-implanted. These oysters are farmed and deliberately seeded with cheap, mass-produced pearls before being sold, despite not yet being shucked. Many are dyed or are synthetic with little to no real value. To top it off, the oysters used in these scams are usually preserved in chemicals for months at a time, making them inedible and completely wasted. There have also been many people calling these sellers out for the following reasons. Oysters are marine animals, not just pearl-producing objects, but in these scams they are treated as disposable props. Many pearl party oysters are farmed in overcrowded, unnatural conditions before being killed just for a short live stream spectacle. Oysters are forcibly pried open and discarded immediately after, wasting their lives and serving no ecological purpose. Of course, there is also the complaint that over-harvesting oysters for pearl parties can disrupt marine ecosystems, harming biodiversity. In order to avoid falling victim to such scams, first of all, don't buy from pearl party sellers. Legitimate pearls are not going to be found in random online oyster openings. I can understand the excitement behind it, because it's a little like gambling. These live streamers will sell you 1, 5, 10 shucks at a time, and there's that anticipation of whether or not something is going to be inside for you. But again, it's not real. Legitimate pearls are not found on random online platforms, unfortunately. Yes, even if they're shucking the oysters right in front of you, because, as mentioned earlier, they can insert irritants inside and make it look like natural pearls. If you want to have pearls, it's better to support sustainable pearl farms that prioritize oyster health and environmental conservation. If you see such live streams taking place, obviously, don't fall victim to them, but also report them when you can and spread the word so others know not to fall prey to the scam. Dogs often beg and demand attention, whether it's for food, affection, or engagement. If not addressed, this behavior can become persistent and disruptive. One way to stop begging is to teach your dog a reliable settle command, which helps them remain calm and patient. For this segment of the show, I'm referring to Zach George's Guide to a Well-Behaved Dog because he's a real professional dog trainer. But first, why do you think it is that dogs beg? Dogs typically beg because they've been rewarded for it in the past. If they get food or attention when they beg, they will continue doing it. The best way to stop this habit is to prevent rewards for begging and teach an alternative behavior. I always thought it was funny when my family ate together that every single pet in our house, like 3 dogs and 4 cats, would circle around my dad to beg for his food. He'd complain about their begging, but at the same time give in to them and feed them stuff off of his plate. Of course, being fair to all of them, if one got a bite, that meant they all had to get a bite, and sometimes I wondered if there was even anything left for him to eat. But the funniest part was that he'd complain about the begging. I had never given any of our pets a single scrap of food off of my plate while I was eating, and I never got begged from. So to me, it was clear as day, black and white, so obvious that if you reward the behavior, you get begged from. But if they've already started begging and you have to look into their puppy dog eyes and kitty eyes, then it's a lot harder to say no. So that's maybe when you start training this settle command so they stop begging. First, introduce settle when your dog is naturally calm, like after exercising or playing. Tell them to lie down, say settle, and reward them with a calm pet or small treat. During your mealtime, encourage your dog to stay on their bed or a specific spot rather than sitting next to you to reinforce this with context. If your dog begs, don't give them attention or food. Wait for them to settle, then reward that behavior. Once your dog understands settle, practice with more distractions, such as guests or different types of food. Remember to be consistent. Ensure everyone in the household follows the same rules, no feeding or rewarding begging. By reinforcing calm behavior and ignoring pushiness, your dog will learn that settling is the best way to get positive attention. With patience and consistency, begging will fade and your dog will become more well-mannered. That is, of course, according to the pros. This segment of the show will teach listeners just like you how to train dogs. Starting with the basics, tune in each episode and you'll eventually be able to do just about anything as far as training goes. I don't currently live with any dogs, but find the knowledge widely applicable as I grew up with dogs, hear of people in my circle who are struggling to train their dogs, and run into stray dogs on my way home in Taiwan every day. So if you're like me and don't currently have a way to apply these methods, there's no telling when exactly they might come in handy. I'd love to hear from you as a listener. Send me something by email at tristan@rti.org.tw. That's tristan@rti.org.tw. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. Thank you for tuning in, friends. See you next time for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.